Now, Now, when you start studying codes, you can't study them without asking these kinds of why questions. Okay, you go, why does DNA have 4 letters instead of 5 or 6? Well, you look in the literature and you find answers. It's like, well, you can actually condense more data into less physical space with a 4-letter code than you can with a 6 or an 8-letter
So it's
code.
the best way to design it.
Right, right. And you get those kinds of answers. And so, and you have implicit purpose. So the purpose of GGG is to make glycine. It's implicit in the system. The purpose of AAA is to make lysine. The purpose of glycine is to combine with other amino acids and make a protein. Okay? Which ends up being no different than saying, what's the purpose of a 1 and 0 on your keyboard? Is to make a letter. What's the purpose of a letter? To make a word. What's the purpose of the word? To make a sentence. What's the purpose of a sentence? To communicate meaning. And you have a communication system, and you can ask all these questions about it. So therefore, purpose is implicit in biology.
And only there.
Right. You don't find that kind of purpose in rocks and snowflakes and hurricanes and stuff. Okay? And so I argue that the God explanation, that it's designed, this is the only way that you can respect the purposes of the genetic code, is by asking why.
That is an explanation that is consistent with those kinds of questions.
Right.
And those kinds of questions open up the opportunity for these kinds of explanations.
Right. Right. Now, we'll get into this later, but I think the best counterexample of why the opposite explanation fails is the whole junk DNA argument. Okay? There's a huge belief out in the world that 90% of your DNA is junk. Okay?
That's getting attacked a little bit now, right?
Oh, it's largely discredited. It's really, in the serious scientific circles, there's not very much support for that anymore.
Right.
But there's a lot of people that still believe it.
Okay.
But it's equivalent to saying, well, your engine is full of all these ridiculous, stupid hoses, and they don't belong there.
Right. So don't ask why, because it's just junk.
Right.
Yeah.
And inquiry stops there. When you are allowed to ask why, inquiry is pushed further. And really, humans always do ask why. Well, it's a legitimate question. It's not just in your imagination.